Are you struggling financially? 78% of Americans feel like they're living paycheck to paycheck, and it is time to break that cycle. So, in this video, we're going to be breaking down exactly how to stop living paycheck to paycheck. And I'm going to give you some real life examples from a financial counseling perspective that we really deal with. Now, the first one that we look at is getting on a budget. Now, when it comes to financial education and counseling, this is the very first thing that we do. Do you know where your money is coming? Do you know the income that is coming in? Do you know where that money is being spent? And do you know exactly if you have something left over? This is taking accountability for every single dollar you have. And of course, thinking of a budget, it is something that is imperative. A lot of people call it a spending plan. You can call it a budget. You can call it whatever makes you happy. But when it really comes down to taking care of your money, it is about your ownership. If you didn't know spending habits exist, if you're unaware of your spending habits, you don't know how much you spend on eating out, you don't know what your loan payments are, you don't know what your car insurance is, this is the time that you really need to customize and understand where you are spending your money. You're an individual that is making $5,000 a month, and all of a sudden you realize you're spending around $6,000. You're running in the red every single month, and that is only a matter of time before the credit card balances get too high. You're looking at refinancing, and that's exactly kind of the scenario that we're in today. I am seeing an incredible amount of people that have accessed credit card debt. They are coming in for refinances. They are coming in for financial counseling and looking at, 20, 50, $100,000 in credit card debt. When you start looking at 20+%, it is crazy the amount that people are paying in interest, and the credit card bills have gotten to the point where debt to income ratios are kind of overtaking that 50%. Credit scores are being effective, and it's becoming incredibly hard to refinance this debt. Now, me personally, I sit down, I create a budget, we outline everything, and we look at the numbers. Now, for a lot of people, that can be a very rude awakening. It can be a wake-up call for a lot, but seeing the numbers on paper really does have a life-changing effect. It's not in an application that you can just close. It's not sitting, in a spreadsheet that you can just save and forget about. It is looking at it in black and white on paper. You can go to Google, you can look at a lot of budgeting templates, you can have free downloadable things and get it and print it out. Now, the first time you do it, it's going to be a little time consuming. And this is always the warning that I kind of put with this. When you're building your budget for the first probably 2 or 3 months, it's going to take some adjustment. It's going to really take some time to do it. Once you have that set, it comes incredibly easy when you're breaking down this budget to look exactly what's built in there. And a lot of the things that you'll realize fast that they are the same. When we look at the second one here, kind of taking care of the 4 walls. So what we say by that, or what Dave Ramsey really focuses on, is looking at food, utility, shelter, transportation. Those are the primary things that you need. When we think about needs, when we think about wants, you have to look this and you have to break it down into the things that you need. You need a house, you need a place to live, you need a place that's safe. What is that going to run you? Now, this, of course, can be very subjective. And this is where I really challenge you to think outside the box. Now, when you think about having a shelter, does it mean you're charging or paying $800 a month for rent? Does it mean $1,500 for rent? Does it mean $3,000 for rent? Might depend on where you live, but also what is the quality of life that you're looking for and what can you afford? I know a lot of people that are paying way too much rent in a place they don't need to be. And unfortunately, they're running negative in the red every single month. Now, when it comes to transportation, this again can be super subjective when it comes to prioritizing. If you want a dependable car that can take you from A to B, that might be $10,000 or $15,000. Might not be brand new, might not have all the bells and whistles, but it is going to fill the niche of transportation, taking you from A, home, B, job, having you and really being a reliable form of transportation. Now, for a lot of people, this could be a $40,000 car, a $60,000 car, even a $100,000 car that just fills the exact same transportation niche. Also, when you look at cars, they are the biggest depreciating asset that we have in the United States. So it's kind of crazy to think how much money people put in here. And even looking at the average car payment right now is around $650, which again is kind of crazy to think. Now, when it comes to utilities and food, these two are super subjective to where you're eating, what you're eating. Is it going out and grocery shopping and really meal prepping, get everything ready, having a shopping list, not doing impulse purchases? Or is it just going out and making it super easy, eating fast food and out to eat every day, which can be incredibly expensive? And of course, the utilities, they are going to be variable depending on the season, depending on where you live. But you have to know exactly what you have and what you have to manage. Now, the third part we look at when you get into this is cutting those expenses. This is the part where you build out the budget, you have everything on there, you have your income, you have your expenses. What can you cut out? And we're talking about anything here. 25 bucks, 50 bucks, 100 bucks, whatever you cut out. When you look at streaming services, when you look at things that you can get cheaper, this might be refinancing a mortgage. This could be refinancing an auto loan, maybe consolidating some of the credit card debts. What can you cut down and really save money, big picture? And what are things you're not using? We see, again, streaming services. We see gym memberships. We see a lot of things that are not used at all. And of course, the big one for this one is the food and really eating out. It is super expensive to eat out. If you've looked at menus, if you've looked at prices, nowadays it is very expensive. This means that you could go meal planning, you could do meal prepping, you could really shop at a cheaper, really, if you do your research and you look, buying exactly what you need for the entire week, making sure you're not excess. Even in the United States, they say we roughly throw away 30% of all purchased food. Think of that. So if you're spending $1,000 a month for a family of four, which is pretty affordable, honestly, but if you're spending that and you're throwing away your 30%, $300 of that 1,000 you spent on food is going right into the garbage can, which is crazy. This is where it gets going into good money habits, making sure that you're focusing on what you want. And honestly, how do you get out of debt? If you've accumulated debt, if you have that credit card debt, how exactly and what does the plan look to get rid of that debt in its entirety? Then, of course, we focus on the emergency fund. A lot of people, including what I did today with financial counseling, was focused on an emergency fund, seeing what it is and keeping you out of debt. So if you've gotten to the point of budgeting, you're able to save a little bit of money. That is the point you want an emergency fund. And when you want to start this emergency fund, we might even start a very basic emergency fund with just a couple $100. Now, for me, I know emergency fund 3 to 6 months, depending on your career path, depending on your financial stability, single income, dual income. But overall, it starts you on the right side of saving money and really getting a buffer between you and having to borrow more money. Where let's say by chance, if your tire blows out on your car, run to the store, you're opening up credit cards, you're opening line of credits, you're thinking of ways to get money if you have an emergency medical expense. Guess what? You don't have to go back and you don't have to borrow money. This is why I stress and really focus, and from a financial counseling aspect, the emergency fund is something that keeps you out of debt. Now, once you get to this point, it is about eliminating the debt. We see this, and this really drives me crazy. It is the buy now, pay later plan, meaning you can go in, you can buy pretty much anything, even north of, let's say, $100, I believe it is. Some places even 50, where you can buy it today. We'll break it into 4 months, 6 months, 12 months of payments, whatever it is, but we'll charge you a small fee up front. And if you don't pay it off in that certain amount of time, we're going to charge you interest on that. This is crazy when you look at how much you're spending. Again, just little things like subscription services. It seems like it is just nickeling, diming you. $6.99 for this, $12.99 for this, $20 for your DoorDash membership every month, $17 for Netflix. It is literally just nickeling, diming you everything that you have in that hourly wage. And when we start to look at this, not taking on any new debt, when we got the budget, when we're building out that emergency fund, this is the point where looking at car loans, cutting up the credit cards, seeing where you can save money, where you can start really the debt snowball. Now, we talk about the debt snowball, we talk about the debt avalanche. Psychological wise, I'm really focusing on the debt snowball. It is a good way to get the gratification of knocking out debt. That is the reason why so many people do focus on the debt snowball. Mathematically, debt avalanche makes a lot more sense. Might not have the same psychological effect that it has with the debt snowball, but you do eliminate debt a lot faster. So I caution you, if you are not super disciplined, the debt snowball is the way to go, 100%. If you are very disciplined, if you're very, like me, into the numbers, I'm really breaking down the budget and seeing, hey, I have an extra $37 that I can put towards my card that has the highest interest rate. Using that debt avalanche method will make a big difference. Now, once we have all the numbers on paper, so you have what you're earning, you have what you're spending, you have what is left over, this might be the time to increase your income, looking, possibly getting a raise at work, looking at a side hustle, looking at a better job, doing something like this, what we do on YouTube. And definitely, if you like what we're putting out there for the content, consider subscribing to the channel. But looking at any way you can earn extra money, it could be Uber, it could be Lyft, could be a barista, could be a working job from home. Side hustles are a great way. Babysitting, cleaning houses, music lessons, website design, anything that you're doing as a career, most of those skills and abilities are transferable to a side hustle, to a second job, to something that you love to do. And of course, this might only be temporary. Focusing on this and eliminating the debt means that you're freeing up a lot of your time because you're not paying the interest rates of everything. And this goes hand in hand with living below your means. When it comes to living below your means, that is something you have to do. And it really starts with you, and it starts with day one. And that goes back to, if you make $5,000, you cannot spend $5,000. Things in life are going to get more expensive. Looking at lifestyle creep, looking up with keeping with the Joneses, whatever you call it, every single time that people have a tendency to get a raise, get a bonus, get a promotion, it's a bigger house, it's a bigger car, it's better clothes. Then of course you're spending more money than you ever did before. Even though you're earning more money, you wonder how millionaires go broke. You wonder how a lot of people do go broke that have an absorbent amount of money. It is the lifestyle that they live that leads to back to being broke, back to poverty, back to not having anything at all. This is why the budget is so big on the focuses. Now, when it comes to the next one, we're going to talk about big purchases. Now, for me personally, we did landscaping on our house. We paid for it cash. We did the patio on the back of our house, paid for it cash. We completed our basement, paid for it cash. You know what? It might have taken a little bit more time, might have taken a couple more months, might have taken a couple more years to get it done. We didn't do a home equity like a majority of people did. We didn't borrow any money at all, meaning that if we paid for our landscaping and let's say it was $12,000, we paid $12,000. And you know what? Contractors were taking a lot less than that $12,000 if you were paying in cash, as in $100 bills. Got a 10% discount for the front, got a 5% discount for the basement. Saving money anywhere you can with those big purchases give you the power to really negotiate when you're going to buy something, which is kind of crazy. Having money in an emergency fund, eliminating that debt. Guess what? Like me, if you checked out my financial videos, saving a ton of money out of my paycheck every single week because we don't have credit card debt, we don't have car payments. Eliminating that really makes a big difference. If you don't have the money to go on vacation, don't come in and borrow $10,000 to go on vacation. If unfortunately you can't afford a wedding, don't come in and borrow $25,000 to get a wedding. You don't want to start off in debt. And trust me, nobody wants to start living paycheck to paycheck just because they decided to get married or they wanted to go on the vacation and spend the next 5 to 7 years paying for that. And the final one is the why. When we think of why we're doing this, you have to have a bigger why. The stronger the why, the stronger the try is what it goes. When you look at financial goals, and you should really plan these out, write them down. It could be really looking at retirement. It could be, paying for your kids' education. It could be buying that condo, buying your dream home. Whatever it is, you have to know exactly why you're planning and what you're focusing on with your money. And of course, for me, it was about breaking the debt cycle. I have lived with it my entire life. Even my parents, thinking back way when I was younger, debt had always been a part where if there was a vehicle that they financed, if they financed it for 60 months, they made 60 payments on it. There was no time that they were paying it off early. Carried credit card debt, carried student loan debt, carried everything. For me, it was finally time in my life to break the cycle, getting rid of it, having a side hustle, generating everything that we generate from the YouTube channel, whether it is in super chats, whether it is in AdSense, everything goes straight into an investment account. As my side hustle continues to grow, I'm going to do that same for the longevity of investing and really rebuilding the investment account around the YouTube channel. So guys, that's going to do it for today's video. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. And as always, thank you guys for watching.